Please welcome EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin.
Oh, it's so great to be at Republican Jewish Coalition. Hey, Sid Rosenberg, how are you? You know, as I'm here, I'm thinking of Sheldon Adelson, David Flom, Jeff Feingold, Sam Fox, so many people through the years who helped to build the Republican Jewish Coalition into being such an important, monumental, impactful group to make sure that in a year like 2025, with the crossroads that was facing our country last year, that we have Donald Trump back in the White House, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate to save the greatest country in the history of the world. I'm looking out and seeing a lot of friends. You know, it feels like I'm home being with all of you. You know, over the course of your time in elected office, as all of you have been active, you meet people the first time, you don't know what kind of a relationship you may be forming, and then years later you realize it's permanent. There are so many people here in this room who are lifelong dear friends. And I thank you for everything that you have done through the years, the mentorship, the support, and your continued activism. We always need to be doing everything in our power to fight for this republic that is a republic worth fighting and even dying for. Too many people sit on the sidelines, discouraged, deterred, intimidated by voices that make it uncomfortable to participate in this arena. But when you have deep conviction and principle, you know what you're fighting for, you believe in that flag, you want to ensure that this Constitution and our freedom and our liberties are enduring. You can't sit on the sidelines. I had the great honor and privilege of serving in the cabinet of a great president who formed an amazing cabinet. President Donald J. Trump is back in the White House, and many thanks to the Republican Jewish Coalition for making that possible. I got a call from President Trump recently, very late at night. And yeah, he's wide awake, he's working. The conversation ends where he wants me to call two other members of the team, one cabinet member and another head of an agency, and then get back to him. And I'm looking at the time, and I'm wondering, when he says, get back to him, does that mean like tonight? Because tonight is, well, it's actually tomorrow, because it'll be after midnight. He says, whatever time it is, call me back. I called the first person up, reached him right away. Quick conversation, 5 minutes done, fantastic. Then I had to call the cabinet member. He doesn't answer the phone. I leave a message, and I'm trying to contact him every way I know possible, and I'm being as relentless as I can, trying to reach him as quickly as I could. Fortunately, I eventually hear back from him. We have our conversation, and now I'm looking at the time. Do I really call back the president at this time? Well, he said, whatever time it is, call me back and I'll be up. I give him a call. He answers the phone right away. He's wide awake. You would think it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You'd think that, you know, for a normal person that they're loaded up on 6 espressos. I mean, he is going. I update him on the conversations, and he immediately is talking China and India, having conversations with other world leaders, and he's into it. And by the way, the topic that I was speaking to him on was something that, you know, he sounded emotional and passionate and worked up over. But when you might be just about to think that it's a topic that would be getting to him, his tone changes. And I could tell on the other side of the phone, he had this big smile on his face, and he was feeling good, and he said, "Aren't you having fun?" There was no sarcasm to it. And you could tell he was asking me that because that's how he was feeling. We just went from a president of the United States who would call a lid on his day as quickly as his day would start. We had a president who had I wouldn't say a good 45 minutes. There was a relatively alert 45 minutes of a day. An auto pen running this country. And now we have a president who doesn't sleep and he's fighting for us. You think you already did your 4 years. You don't have to do 4 more. He went through 2 assassination attempts for us. He could be living such a fabulous life outside of the hassles and inconveniences, the complexities of being our president. But no, that is what drives him to work harder for all of us. And it drives our cabinet to all work as hard as we can for all of you. When the president called me up the Sunday morning right after the election, he asked me to be the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm going to admit, wasn't expecting it. We had a few conversations after the Tuesday election. We're talking about some different things that he had in mind, but he knew this is exactly what he wanted to do, and he was just so motivated into it. I said, Mr. President, if you like it, I love it, let's do it. And he had a list of 15 or 20 different specific things he wanted us to accomplish at the EPA. We have so much of the deregulatory agenda at our agency. So much of a green new scam and these green slush funds that had to end accountability, where money was going to well-connected left-wing friends, those who were working in the Biden and Obama administration's Democratic donors, getting their hands on our hard-earned tax dollars. The president wanted me to go find it and put an end to it. He wants our permits to go faster, to take less time, cost less money, have more certainty. He wants to bring trillions of dollars into this country, and it is already happening. This president wants to unleash energy dominance, and I see that progress every day. He wants to fight for that American auto worker, to protect and bring back American auto jobs, and I see all the developments with the policies of this administration making it possible. Some of you were with me back in 2018 in Jerusalem as the president was fulfilling a campaign promise that was not just his promise to move the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. He was fulfilling a campaign promise of so many presidents and presidential candidates who had come before him. See, it's one thing to say something to get elected. It's something else to deliver on those pledges, those commitments, to be able to keep your promise. And I remember waking up that morning, and the front cover of the Jerusalem Post, which I still have in my office, said, "Promises made, promises kept." There may not be any better slogan in politics than keeping your commitments that you make when earning that trust in the first place. Now, I want all of you to keep something very important top of mind as we move forward. As we think of the link and the intersection between energy and the environment and our economy. See, what I have found is one of the starkest contrasts that exist between liberals and conservatives right now in America is that what I came into inheriting a Biden EPA that was coming out, they thought that in order to protect the environment, we had to suffocate entire sectors of our economy out of existence. Conservatives believe that we can protect the environment and grow the economy, that it's not a binary choice. The Trump EPA chooses both. The American public chose both when they voted November 2024 to put the Trump mandate into effect. And that's why we are in the middle of doing a deregulatory effort right now at EPA that amounts to, in 1 year, more deregulation than entire federal governments in the past have done across every federal agency across entire presidencies. That's one agency in 1 year. One of our proposed rescissions is of the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding. If finalized, will be the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States of America. I had a great there's no way you can have a conversation with Mark Levin on his radio show unless it's intellectual. We were talking Constitution and Supreme Court cases. We were talking Loper-Bright, Michigan versus EPA, West Virginia versus EPA. See, we as conservatives understand that if it is not an authority that is specifically granted to an agency in the text of statute, that we should not have bureaucrats on top of an ivory tower in Washington deciding to get creative and giving themselves power that Congress did not give to them in statute. That's the Loper-Bright decision overturning the Chevron doctrine. The major policies doctrine, saying that when you are going to have what would amount to trillions of dollars of new regulation, that's a decision that should require a debate in Congress, a vote of our elected representatives, instead of those lacking courage trying to kick those tough decisions to those unelected bureaucrats to hoard that power for themselves. This is about giving power back to the people of this country. Now, the two best announcements that we have made this year, on the 100th day of President Trump's term in office, we released a list of our top 100 environmental accomplishments of those first 100 days. And on the 200th day of President Trump's term in office, we released a list of our next top 100 environmental accomplishments from those next 100 days. See, conservatives love our environment. We want to be good stewards of the environment. Go speak to hunters and fishermen. So much of America cherish our beautiful environment. They want cleaner, safer, healthier land, air, and water. The people of Southern California, millions of them, are now seeing the results of operating at Trump speed to end a decades-long Tijuana River raw sewage crisis. For decades it's been going on, but under the Trump administration, we have been able to get agreement on what will be a permanent 100% solution to end it. See, on Trump speed, just days before President Trump came into office, a terrible wildfire hit LA. And there are many people, I'm sure, in this room who were very personally impacted by what took place. Can you imagine, when you're coming into office to inherit something that is as what seems to be apocalyptic as that was. Over 13,000 properties destroyed. Incompetency at the state and local government that is mind-boggling. And President Trump came in, he signed an executive order right away, and he said, EPA, you have 30 days to complete your hazardous material removal under phase 1 so that the Army Corps can come in for phase 2 to do their debris removal. And the original response was, well, that was going to be impossible. Well, enter President Trump. And when he says that this needs to get done in 30 days, that means that we will get it done and did get it done in 28 days. That's real environmental action and accomplishment. See, we can't complete our thought and our understanding of exactly what we inherited without looking at the ways through inefficiencies, and in many cases, I wouldn't say reckless, it was deliberate, in the way that your tax dollars were being wasted and abused, lit on fire, tens of billions of dollars that were going through an agency that didn't even know how to spend it. in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. When it was President Biden and the Democratic Congress, they appropriated $27 billion to go through the EPA. Our annual operating budget is about $10 billion a year and going down. In 2024, EPA obligated and spent over $60 billion. Now, if you're wondering as you sit there, well, how much is the EPA costing us under the Trump administration? Well, I said our annual operating budget is about $10 billion. And so far this year, I have canceled over $29 billion worth of grants that were going through this agency. I mean, if you want to talk waste, I have examples for you of grants where the dollar was passing through 4 pass-throughs, where each of them were collecting their own cut to administer their portion of the pass-through. Think how diluted your dollar was. See, we watch the left when they have terms that they're using for organizing and they define it in a way that will build support. Words like environmental justice, climate justice, climate change. You come up with a definition of your term, you build widespread support, and then in the name of those terms, with your newfound power that comes from you entrusted by the people, you abuse it. See, climate justice, in the name of that term, led to $50 billion going to a group called Climate Justice Alliance. They say that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. And I don't know any way you want to possibly define the term climate justice, but I'm pretty sure that most of America would want to ensure that a dollar that is used for remediating an environmental issue is gone directly towards remediating an environmental issue right here in the United States of America, not towards a group that says that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. So, sorry, bad news. Sorry, not sorry, I guess, for those out there who were fighting with that belief that that's where the $50 million should go. That $50 million have been canceled. In the name of environmental justice, they'll say, well, there are these communities in this country that have suffered environmental damage. They need help remediating important environmental issues. And when they make a compelling case with that definition, we say, what can we do? We want to help. Okay, this is how you help. In the name of environmental justice, we are going to be giving money, $20 billion in fact, to 8 pass-through entities run by all sorts of former Obama and Biden officials as pass-through entities. And when the money goes through them, it'll go through, in many cases, other pass-through entities. And I, as administrator of EPA, couldn't even tell you the basic answers to your important questions as to where this money would go. That's where you hear President Trump often talk about the $2 billion that went to that Stacey Abrams-linked NGO. That was out of this $20 billion. That NGO received $100 in 2023. And then the Biden EPA gave them $2 billion in 2024. But even the Biden EPA knew that they needed to ensure that some basic standards had to be put on that grant agreement. So understanding the lack of competency of the people receiving your $2 billion, they required the grantee to complete training called How to Develop a Budget. They had 90 days to complete the training, by the way, but in the first 21 days, they are encouraged to start spending down the balance. Well, all of these grants that we speak of are canceled. This is a room filled with passionate Jewish Republicans, American Jews. And there's so much at any given time that motivates us to want to do everything in our power to be fighting for this country that we love. I didn't think the day after the election that I'd be spending 2025 as administrator of EPA. And I found out soon that that's exactly what President Trump wanted. And I said to him, if you like it, I love it. We're all answering a call in our own ways. And if we needed any reminder of what's at stake, we reflect on what happened September 10th. Assassinating my friend Charlie Kirk. We have to be realistic at what the other side is willing to do with their vision of where they want to take this country. But this group, filled with people who I can vouch for as my friends, many of you my friends for life, as we enjoy our time here, I guess with a little bit of inspiration, knowing that right next door at the Sphere they're playing Wizard of Oz, it feels like home when you come to the RJC here for this meeting. And as we think of Sheldon, and David Flom, and Jeff Feingold, and Sam Fox, and all those came before us, we are reminded why there's nowhere more important for all of us to be than right here, right now, being active in an amazing, legendary organization that will continue to grow stronger because of all of us stepping up and knowing what we are up against in this fight, in the way the other side organizes, the way the other side right now, in ways that they haven't even done in the not too distant past, are willing to go the lengths that they are willing to go to fight for their cause that they believe, but because our cause of freedom and liberty, of a country that is the greatest country in the history of the world. The Republican Jewish coalition will remain strong, and because of that, the United States of America will always have a better chance of being stronger with the days and the years and the decades and the generations and the centuries that are ahead. As we enter into America 250, the Republican Jewish coalition will be there, having the back of everything that is right and just, fighting for what is a great, exceptional nation that we will never apologize for. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you've done for me, and more importantly, what you have done for President Trump and the United States of America. God bless you.
Please welcome Steve Meisel for the presentation of the Defender of Israel Award.
Good afternoon. Each year, the Meisel Foundation honors individuals whose service to the Jewish people and the state of Israel has gone above and beyond. This weekend, we celebrate the return of the living hostages and some of the fallen ones to their families in Israel. And we continue to mourn the precious lives lost on October 7th, 2023, in the 2 years of war in Gaza. There's one group of people we have not yet focused on: the soldiers wounded in this war and in all of Israel's wars, to whom so much is owed. It is my privilege to introduce you to one such soldier, a brave hero of the Swords of Iron war in Gaza, who made it his mission not only to recover and thrive himself, but to help his fellow injured soldiers recover and thrive. Itai Sagi served as a reservist in the Syriat Miglan, an elite IDF force that specializes in operating deep inside enemy territory. On October 11th, 2023, his comrades headed toward Gaza to fight the terrorists who had attacked Israel's just day before. Their truck got a flat tire near Kibbutz Sakim, in which had been attacked on October 7th. One group of Itai's comrades stayed to repair the vehicle, while Itai and the other group took cover from Hamas rocket fire in a nearby bomb shelter. Itai's group was ambushed at the shelter, with gunfire coming from all directions. And from then, well, I'll let Itai tell you the rest. Please join me in welcoming Itai Sagai.
I don't know how to start. People ask me if I'm scared to go up the stage. So the truth is, I'm not scared, I'm excited. I can't be scared in a room full of people that cherish and love me, and that is what I feel. And thank you all so much for that. I'm here to tell you my story. So I serve in Maglan unit. I'm 27 years old. I was a reservist. I love what I do. On the 7th of October, I was called by my commander at 8 a.m. I live in the Upper Galilee next to Lebanon, and told me, Itai, we need you right now in base. I said, of course. I took a machete, a friend of mine, that served in the same unit. We drove to the south, and we couldn't believe what we saw. For 5 days, we fought against those monsters that in their eyes you could only see hate. And the only reason we stayed alive and continue fighting day after day is because we fight out of love for Israel, out of love for life, and out of love for each other. After 5 days of fighting, we were on a mission, finally got a special mission. We needed to retrieve, to recover dead hostages' bodies from the Gaza envelope, from the Gaza Strip, and we were still in the Gaza envelope, inside Israeli territory. We're a team of 24 guys, the best men I know. I love them, each and every one of them, very much. And we drove in a column of 6 Humvees. When we started to get fired by rockets, one of the cars malfunctioned, and we took a high decision to split the force, to drive to someplace safe, so-called, on the border with Gaza, still inside of Israel. And we got there. There was a bomb shelter, big bushes around it, and good friends. And we ran into the bomb shelter, and out of the 12 guys that we split to half and half. 6 guys stayed outside, stayed in high alert. I was inside chilling, and after a minute, I went outside as well. I saw my teammates preparing for everything, when all hell broke loose. 8 Nukhba terrorists opened fire at us from all directions. I saw all of my teammates that were outside of the bomb shelter falling to the ground, some responding, some not responding to my calls, some shooting back, but all of them got shot in that moment. And I have like shiver in my body. I feel that all of my life took me to this moment to be the best friend I can, to be the best soldier I can. But more than all, to put a smile on my face. Because that's the biggest shield that I ever used and that ever helped me. And I see one of my friends crawling to me after he got shot in the leg and 2 bullets in the helmet. He shouts, they're shooting me, they're shooting me. I raise my weapon. He crawls next to my legs. I see the terrorist emerge from one of the bushes, started to fire at me with his AK, and I just don't think. I point my weapon at him, release 2 bullets. They hit his head. He falls to the ground. All I'm thinking is, good job, Itai. Continue that. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. You need to buy time. And I'm outside. I see another terrorist. He shoots at me. I shoot at him back. I don't hit. And I shoot and change position, shoot and change position like they taught me, until I just sprint him. I surprise him. I emerge from the corner. And from 0 distance away, I take him out as well with 6 bullets in the chest. And then I look behind me. I see 2 dead terrorist bodies. And I believe that we're going to be okay. I really believe. I see my teammates lying on the ground, but it's my best friends. I can't comprehend that something happened to them. And in my brain I say, oh, it's fine. They're just sleeping. Of course it wasn't that. I started to speak with one of my teammates inside of the bomb shelter. Told them we need to create a perimeter outside of the bomb shelter. There's a lot of terrorists. When I see 2 grenades fall right in front of me, I jump to the other direction. I feel big explosions. I stand back up. I dust myself off. I'm fine. I don't hear anything, but I go back to battle. I search for more terrorists. Another grenade falls next to me, but this time I don't see it and I don't hear it. It just explodes less than a meter away. I fall to the ground. My body became jello. I don't know why I can't move. I think that everything is okay because I don't feel the pain. And I feel bullets flying above me, and I say, okay, Tai, I need to change position. But I can't, my body's not working. And then I said, okay, Tai, your teammates got this, he'll do everything to save you. All you need to do is take a deep breath. And I can't. I don't able to breathe. And I start to freak out, and I can't breathe. More and more and more, until I finally, I think, pass out. Everything is dark. And then I just find myself floating above the battlefield, floating above the situation. Everything is like orange filtered. And I remember my teammates fighting, but I don't care. I remember the terrorists fighting, but I don't care. All I want is to continue with this amazing feeling. I feel something loving me. I feel beloved. I feel great. I feel like that's my place. I need to finish with this nonsense and continue on with my life. When I see a dead body that I don't recognize, and I look at it, and it bothers me. For everything else, I was apathic. And I get closer and closer until I see my own face on that body. When I have like flashes of electricity going through my body that I feel all of my life going. I don't see my past. I see my future. I see how amazing it's going to be. I see family. I see barbecues. I love barbecues. Really. I see my teammates. And I see a big house in the north full of kids, and I know all of that is going to be mine. And these amazing feelings that I felt surrounding me while I was up there, I feel all of them going to be in my life, and I choose life. And I scream at myself, Itai, start breathe. Again and again, until finally I go back to the same terrible situation. They're shooting at us from all directions. We're 7 out of 12 people already shot. But I feel the most protective that I ever felt in my life because I saw in front of me one of my teammates protecting me with his own body, will do whatever it takes to keep me safe, even though he doesn't know if I'm alive or not. And I just push myself into sitting position. All my right side didn't work. I have problems, that's fine. I went into the scope, started shooting a bit. He looks at me, scared, like, Itai, you alive? And then he just jumped at me. He screams in my ear, Itai, you're bleeding heavily. You have a fountain of blood from your neck. You can see maybe a little bit. I'm after 3 surgeries already. Looks good, right? Say yes. Like that, we fight for almost 50 minutes, taking out the terrorists with heavy casualties. We didn't succeed in our mission, unfortunately, but we did succeed recently when we retrieved almost all of the hostages, but we didn't finish with that. I woke up in the hospital, a broken man, crying, don't know what to do with myself. I felt like the biggest failure that God ever created. From a soldier that served his country, now I need help to go to the toilet. Now I need someone to wash me. I can't move my right arm. I can't move my head. But it all changed a day later. Sorry. In that day, they told me that 3 of my best friends gave their life. Itai Moreno, Ido Kaslasi, and Daniel Castiel. And I was broken from that and from injury. But a day later, one of my teammates calls me. And I hear the joy in his laugh. I feel in his voice. And I feel like, it's like, Itai, you're alive. And I'm, yeah, but they're dead. But he said, but you're alive. We didn't thought that you're going to make it. But he said, and I said, yeah. But then he said something amazing. He said, Itai, we lost so much. We lost so much. We lost that battle. We didn't lose that battle. We're here. But we lost that battle 3 amazing people, our best friends. And along the war, we lost so many more. But you have so much more to live for. In Itai, in that battle, you saved 9 other lives because you managed to take out terrorists. You managed to fight. And that means something. That means so much. And I'm here thanks to you, and I love you. Thank you. And ever since, my way to win the war, my own battle, to tell my friends above that we won, is just to be a better person, is to help someone else, is to be a hose and not a bottle that only takes to himself, is to take the good and bring it forward. That's what I felt in the hospital. That's what I felt from my teammates. And I feel it here in this room. And I want to thank you for the amazing support that you give for me, for the injured. And I have here 2 different buttons. How do you call it? Pins. One's a Hebrew hammer, because I love you. And I love everything you stand for. And second is the pin for the injured soldiers. That, yeah, we are here in the crowd, there's some of us, but we don't want your grace. We want you to believe in us that we're doing the best, and we're going to be even better version of ourselves than we were before. And all of us almost gave everything to win this war, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And we have to retrieve all of the hostages back. And thank you so much for your amazing love and your amazing support. And I salute you.
In assisting me in giving this award is Jack Edry. Jack, a member of the RJC. Jack was a member, a fighter in Miquelon, and fought in many wars for Israel. It is my privilege to honor for his service in wartime and for his commitment to helping the thousands of IDF soldiers who have fought violently for their country and sacrificed so much. Itay, this plaque says, on behalf of the Republican Jewish Coalition, we proudly present this Defender of Israel Award to Itai Segei in recognition of his courage under fire in the iron swords of war and his devotion to the welfare of Israel's wounded veterans. This award is funded by the Stephen Meisel Foundation.
I want to say one last thing. A big thanks to Stephen that made it all happen. And I love you. You're my friend. And you're the biggest friend of Israel that I know. And thank you to RJC. You're so cool. Really, it's the coolest place that I've ever been in my life. I'm not kidding. Really, like, it's top of the notch, right? That's how you say it? Thank you.
Please welcome pollster and analyst Frank Luntz.
So normally I'd be coming into the audience to do this because I want to engage, but Itai, can you come back out for a second? I've never done this before in my professional career. Come on out. I'm going to come get you. All the way. Now, those of you know I don't like touching people or being touched. Come here.
I'm a hugger.
Oh, God, don't do that,
Okay.
please. That would be too much for right here. I cannot. I'm looking at you. You're, what, 27?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I just said F, the F word. I'm in trouble. Sir, the reason I try to do language, the reason why I try to do communication, so that you never again have to go through what you went through. The success of Hasbara is that we don't need to fight, that our message is so strong and so clear and so effective that our enemies go away. I promise you, if we can get the people in this room on message, we will not have to go through what we just went through. And you, sir, are an inspiration. You are my hero. And it's an honor, and I will work so that we never have to meet again.
I hope so. No, I do want to meet you again, but in good reasons. Like,
Okay, only if you're buying.
only if I'm what?
Buying.
Buying.
You see, Jews don't know that phrase.
I don't familiar with that word.
And I rest my case. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's pull up the PowerPoints because I got a lot to go through. Take out your pens, use your phones. I'm going to try to communicate what matters, and nothing matters more than this. All we have to do, if we could just do this, is to take all the stuff that Hamas says on Al Jazeera and make sure that every American knows this word for word, interview by interview. This first step is to be communicating exactly what they do, exactly what they say. If we start with that, we're going to be successful. But even that is too much. Next, oh, actually, I've got the clicker here. I'm about to say next slide. This is not a union hotel, so I have to do this on my own. First, and I just realized that the slide that I'm up to look at this, and I can't even read it because it's so far back. So in the front row, read it, yell it out to me. Okay, one person. Go ahead, sir. Everything is Gaza. Oh, show it. I want you to put the video, to communicate that video in advertisements. I want every American to know what the leadership says. They can't deny it. You understand that when they appear on American television, they say one thing, and when they appear on Al Jazeera, they say something completely different. We should ensure that every American has a free subscription to Middle Eastern Al Jazeera so they can see the language that they're using, because that would change everything. And the second thing, I'm going to bring it all down. And actually, I'm going to walk over here because it's the only way that I can see it. I know that I'm going out of the light, but I can't read it from over there. I have to be careful that I don't fall off here. One of the key words in all of this is corruption. Where is the money gone? The UN has spent billions of dollars in Gaza. Where did it go? Why did it not go to books? Why did it go to tunnels? It should have gone to books, not bullets. This is the language that moves people. Another phrase that's important is that it is not anti-Semitism, it's anti-Jewish racism. I'm asking you to make that change because still Americans don't know what anti-Semitism is, but they do know what racism is, and they do understand the hatred towards the Jewish community that's too often expressed on college campuses, and so it really does matter. Another one at the bottom, which is something that probably we're not used to saying, which is our empathy and our understanding for the plight of the Palestinian people. Because in the end, this is not Israel's fault, this is Hamas's fault. On October 6th, we had peace. October 7th, we had war, and that was because of Hamas, not because of Israel. I want you to communicate that as often as you can. Next, these are the key words, and by the way, this is absolutely impossible. Let's see if I can get a little closer to this side, but they're equidistant. These are the words, this is the language, take a picture of it. I'm not shy about sharing the information. This is the language that will move people. And in the end, it is the right of Israel to exist, and that Hamas is the perpetrator of hate, and that is what they should be called. And if anyone has any question about this, all you have to do is look at the language, at the words that they use in how they communicate. These are the words that work. We've been working on this now for years, literally for decades. And in fact, there's no place where I have a more difficult time, candidly, is with Jewish audiences. And that's because we all want to do it our way. And I'm suggesting that this is the right way. The 4 H's, and this is for colleges in particular. And I do have to recognize also at the beginning of this that you have one organization that is represented, about 95 or 100 of them are here. And they're the most effective audience for fighting anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish racism, and for Israel. And that's our AEPI students. Where are they? So, you know, tomorrow I'm taking 18 of them to the football game because I want them to enjoy themselves. Every day they're on the front lines of our communication, and I want them to know how much we appreciate them, how much we celebrate them, and how much we respect them for all that they do. I think they're sitting back there. Guys, thank you very much for all that you do. And notice the 4 H words here. And they may not be spoken that often by individuals in this room, but this is what the public wants to hear. The humanity, human rights, humanitarian, and how on October 7th, the inhumane conditions. And they really were. Next. And these are the phrases, this is going to kill me again. I don't think you've ever had someone who stand up here who truly put this stuff together for you. It's a brand new presentation, and actually not read it from the stage. I did not want to do what the politicians do. They have cue cards, or they're reading the teleprompter over here, and then they go over here, and now I realize that they are correct and I am wrong, because I can't possibly read that. So I'm going to skip it. Notice that it's no longer a culture of hate. One of the other things that I've had to do is I've had to reshape my language. I've had to redo this. So I last spoke to you maybe 4 or 5 years ago about the time of COVID. The stuff I said to you back then doesn't apply now. Or the words have changed since then, and we have to be willing to change with it. And all you have to do is show the visualization of it. It is not the words, it is the pictures. And I'm asking for people to see it. They will show you and in fact, a lot of their stuff is made up. All you have to do is tell the truth, but tell the truth in photographs, and that's one of the best examples. The other aspect about anti-Semitism is it is unforgivable. It is unacceptable. And any university president that doesn't declare that on day one should be fired. And anyone in this room who donates to a university, you are causing yourself pain and suffering. Here's your line. This is the line everyone in this room should use when you leave here right now. In America today, no one should be discriminated against because of either race or religion. We're all on the same side. We would never accept bigotry based on whether you're white, black, brown, Asian, Middle Eastern. It's unacceptable, which should be the same thing on religious grounds as well. We're all in this together, and that is one of the key components of this. And I'm actually looking for the time clock as well, which I do not see in front of me, so if someone can let me know. And we got another list of, you all should know that up here I'm dying. Norm, you've known me now for, 15, 20 years. This is the worst moment of my life. So I'm asking you all if you can forgive and have sympathy, because literally my entire presentation, which is brand new, I can't see it. Everyone deserves. Why do you do that? Because I want you to be universal in your approach. I want you to be universal in how you communicate. It's not about a commitment to peace, it's an investment in peace. Why is it an investment? Because that shows that you're already doing it. That shows that you're committed to it and you're engaged in it. Mutual respect. Oh, you just took a picture to me. Yes, but if I go for that, I will fall over. And that'll be very funny for you all and not so funny for me. But I can read this slide here. Mutual respect. The single highest value. And this is not my opinion. This is based on fundamental research, polling, focus groups, instant response. This is to help you get to where you need to go. And mutual respect is powerful because it says it's a two-way street. If you want to get it, you have to give it. And if you give it, you have to get it. It's essentially be talking about solutions and results, because in the end, Americans don't want to know about the process. They want to know about the impact. They want to know whether or not it actually mattered. I'll do a few more from that. Please stop talking about evidence. There's evidence for the prosecution. There's evidence for the defense. We fight over evidence. Who here's a lawyer? If you're a lawyer, raise your hands. Get out. I've wanted to do that now forever, and I see that they now, by the way, I now actually can read it in the teleprompter. So whoever's back there will figure that out, you deserve a raise. Also, no exceptions, no excuses. This is what we ask for. This is actually what we insist on, that we will not have this continue. It's the only way to fight it is to say that there is zero tolerance. Notice at the bottom left-hand side, working together side by side. Everyone has a vision of that. Everyone can see that in their minds. And I want your words to be visual, not just verbal. Couple more. Lasting and long-term. They're tired of these attempts. They're tired of these events. They want to know that whatever you're trying to do will make a difference. Also, the consequences of failure. For those of you who are in difficult marriages and you're kind of thinking, well, maybe you should kind of give up, use the word consequence. Honey, the consequence of my doing what you want me to do, and they will pay attention to it. The word consequence has an impact on how people hear things. I promise you, when we get out there and a couple of you come up and tell me how sorry you are for me, you're going to remember the word consequence. The consequence of me not putting my laptop right here is that I gave a really bad presentation. Next. Please don't yell. please communicate that you're listening. It may bother you. It may fundamentally be difficult for you, but it is absolutely essential that you communicate that you hear them, because in the end, that's all what we all ask for, is to be heard. I've got only 1 more minute, so I'm going to try to get to as much stuff as I can here. I want you to speak to their hearts, not just to their heads. These are families who've been torn apart. That soldier, the story that he told is heartbreaking. Those are the stories that you want to communicate, because they'll be heard, and here's the important part. They'll be listened to. For in the end, what matters is what they hear, not what you say. And I want to emphasize that. What you say is irrelevant. It's what they hear. She is the person you should be talking to. The young woman, age 30, Democrat, is more likely to be hostile to Israel than any gender age group that exists. And if she's left politically, she's now pro-Palestinian. Let me correct that. She's probably pro-Hamas, and that is our challenge. And for guys in this room, whoops, I'm going to go back for 1 second. For the guys who are in this room, see if I can go back. This is one of our challenges. If there are women in this room under age 30, you should be speaking every single day that you can on social media, because you're the most credible. If you're a guy who's over age 60 and you look like that, be quiet. Give them 3 pieces of evidence. And the reason why is that 1 is random, 2 is a trend, 3 is proof. I'm going to do 1 more slide for you and then get out of here. Start a sentence with because. I know that every English teacher will be angry at this. If you start the sentence with because, it means you're explaining before you're declaring. And that is so important in this process. To be able to give people the information that they hear it and remember it. A sentence that begins with because will be heard. I thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you, and I hope this has been helpful. Thank you all.
Please welcome the host of the Officer Tatum Show, Brandon Tatum.
How are y'all doing this afternoon? Boy, I tell you, y'all have no idea how grateful I am and how excited I am to be in a room full of sane people. Now, some of you guys may be on social media like I am, and you can see the lunatics. They're still saying I'm getting paid $7,000 per post. So if anybody in here know the hookup, can you hook a brother up and get me $7,000 per post, please? Get with Dylan Marks in the back. He will lead you where you need to be. But I'm excited because I think it's a calling on all of us to stand up with the relationship that we have with the state of Israel and our Jewish brothers and sisters. I am the most excitable person when it comes to this topic. And I will stand with my Jewish brothers and sisters to the very end. And one of the reasons that I have this fervor and this excitement is because I actually read my Bible. I know what God has said. I know what the principles of God mean to people like me as a Christian. And we have to stand by those principles to the very end. And I'm going to say this, because I know a lot of you guys in here are bold and courageous, but this is the time to be more bold than ever before. Anti-Semitism in America is out of control. And it's no longer a time where you can sit back and watch others perform and watch others stand up for what's right. You have to get off of your butt, get online or wherever you need to get and stand up for what's real and what's true. And let me say this. I will never capitulate. I will never give credence to foolish people who are anti-Semitic, who are racist, people who hate America. I will never support them. I don't care how long you've been podcasting. I don't care how many followers you got. I don't care how much money you got. When you platform somebody, bring somebody on your show, and let them just dog out Jewish people, let them just dog out and say they support Stalin, I will never support you. I'm trying not to get crazy in here, but we got to stop being soft on this topic. We got to stop being soft on the topic. Let me tell you what cancellation is not. No one cares if you on your own social media platform and you spew whatever you want to say, whether it's stupid or not. We live in America and people have the right to free speech. But we don't have to platform you. We don't have to let you come on our programs and say stupidity and spew stupid stuff. And for too long, I'm seeing it go on and on and on and on. I see somebody with a sign that said, Tucker is not MAGA. I guess I got to put his name out there. That's not MAGA. When you're on your platform and people are acting as if Sharia law is better than what we have here in America and the laws that are given to us by God through faith, you're a silly person. If you are out here and you don't know whether or not Hamas is a terrorist organization or a political organization, you are a foolish person. And since I'm already name dropping, everybody saw that interview. You have a guy say that he supports Stalin and that he was a big fan of Stalin on your show. You can have him on the show, but doggone it, you better push back on people like that. There's no way you can say that you're a Christian. There's no way you can say you believe in God and you support a person like Joseph Stalin, who did not believe in God, who killed so many people. Enough is enough. We're not putting up with it anymore. And I stand by our president. That's the reason why I voted for him, because he's a man of integrity. He's a man that stands on principles. And he's a man that's going to be true to what he said. Now, you can decide whether you like what he said or not, but you can guarantee that he's going to stand on what he said. And this is why I love Donald Trump. And when I watch Donald Trump and I see him with Bibi Netanyahu, I see people that operate in reality. The reality is that Israel is one of our greatest allies. And for people to think otherwise, you fall in one or two categories. You're either ignorant or you simply hate Jews. Quit lying to yourself. Quit trying to cover. You just hate Jews. Just say it. I don't want to hear I'm just asking questions no more. You're not just asking questions. Asking questions means you do your research first before you put something out into the atmosphere. It's not asking questions to make accusations. If you somehow think the Jews run the world, you are a fool. If you somehow think that Bibi Netanyahu runs Donald Trump, you are a fool. Donald Trump don't even run Donald Trump. That inner voice in his head that's saying, don't tweet that, don't do that. He like, whatever. I love you, Trump, if you're watching this. I'm just making a joke. Y'all better put a monitor here because I'm going to talk for 35 minutes. But I'm so passionate about this, and it really changed my perspective because I need to give you guys a little background here. I'm a young guy from Fort Worth, Texas, never went outside of Fort Worth a day in my life growing up. We didn't even go to Dallas. Some of you in Texas, we were in Fort Worth, we never even went to Dallas. Dallas was it was a travel for us. And then I got older, went to the University of Arizona, but I had never left the United States of America. I was ignorant. I'm going to be embarrassed to say this, but don't judge me, okay? God still loves me, okay? When I was asked, I wasn't really asked, it was Pastor Alan Jackson was going to Israel, and I had never been out of the country, and I said, of course I would love to go with you. I would love to go where Jesus was and all the great things that as Christians we love about Israel. And so when I decided to go, I didn't know anything really about Israel. I used to think that Israel was like a third world country. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was like Afghanistan and all these other places. I'm telling the truth. Can I be honest? I get on the plane, we land, and I'm blown away. I'm like, oh my God, look at these freeways. Look at this innovation. It's clean. It's peaceful. We went all the way up from Tiberias all the way down to the Dead Sea. I mean, it blew my mind. And that's not even adding into the connection with all of the things that the Bible had prophesied about that you could see in the flesh right there in Israel. And we were on the Sea of Galilee, the Mount of Beatitudes, all the Christian sites. Because as a Christian, that means so much to me. And when I left, I remember thinking, man, I love this place. I love the energy in this place. I see why in America we partner with a democracy like Israel. And it changed me. And therefore, after that, I'm like, man, I'm the biggest fan of Israel. Then I started doing research, and I started realizing our true connection that's beyond just the religious connection, the Judeo-Christian values. Beyond that, the connection that we have geopolitically, the connection that we have when we share intelligence, and all of the great things that all of y'all in here already know. Somehow these people are just losing their mind, and they forget about these things. But all of those things and all of the connections make me love Israel. And then October the 7th happened. And I was so upset because good, innocent people were killed. I've interviewed since people who were hostage or who were held hostage for 490 days. People in the IDF. And I don't want to relive this for you, but it was a moment that made me so upset and angry because I can see I have a very similar feeling that if that happened to America, how would I feel? And the first thing that came out of my mouth, and y'all keep praying for me, I said, I want them to turn that place into a parking lot. I got to preface it because somebody going to clip this and put it on the internet. Not because of the Palestinian people per se, individual people, but because if you dare to do such an atrocity to people that I love, people that I respect, people that are chosen by God, you decide to do something like that, you should never have an opportunity to do it again. And it should be an example to everybody in the world that if you ever think about trying something like this, your country will cease to exist. Boy, if I was the prime minister, it's 48 hours. Give me 48 hours. And so it enraged me. And then I said my statement. I thought that most people in America were thinkers and had common sense. Well, shockingly enough, I was wrong. Because after I said it, we see all this anti-Semitism popping up. We see mindless people on campus wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars getting no real education. And they're out here talking about from the river to the sea and don't even know which river it is. You got people out here saying death to Jewish people and gays for Palestine. I said, I swear, I'll pay for your ticket. I'll fly you business class. I'll get you transportation, but I'm not getting you transportation back because you ain't coming back. We'll get you there since you want to be gays for Palestine, whatever that's supposed to mean. Ignorant folk in America with no common sense. And I'm going to be quick because my time is running out. And then I saw the propaganda online where you see them, the buildings blowing up. And you got people running around. But for some reason, the camera always know where the building is at before it gets blown up. And I said, I'm not the smartest person in the room, but how does a cameraman know that the building is going to blow up, but nobody else know? That, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is propaganda. And you see kids with dirt on their face, and then you see a kid laughing in the background on the side. You see one guy that somehow he's fathering 15 families in tragedy, wearing different clothes, different family and kids. What kind of man is this? Ain't no way in the world that man is in that many tragedies. And they have been able to convince willfully ignorant folk in the West to believe that a terrorist organization is reasonable enough to give you the right numbers, to share clips that are reasonable and fair. It's asinine to me. And I went off on my social media, and I've been going off ever since, because I will not stand for this bull crap. And I'm gonna walk off the stage with this. I want to encourage every single person sitting in this room. Do not allow the opportunity for you to be here, for you to just be here to hug people and say hi and drink some tea or whatever you do and slap high five. When you leave here, you better leave here different than the way you came. When you leave here, you better leave here more bold, more courageous, and standing up more than you ever have before. And in the spirit of my good friend Charlie Kirk, one of the boldest young men to ever do this. And I know many of you in here love Charlie. Many of you in here miss Charlie. But I want all of you in here to have the spirit and courage like Charlie did, to stand up and do the right thing all the time. And I want to finish it like this. God bless you. I love you too. God bless you. God bless Israel. God bless all my Jewish brothers and sisters out here. God bless America. And y'all keep fighting a good fight.
Please welcome the host of Sid and Friends in the Morning on 77 WABC, Sid Rosenberg.
How about another round of applause for Brandon Tatum? He's pretty good, right? He's the only guy in the room with a better tan than I've got. He's really good. So a few people came up to me when I walked in tonight, and they said, I remember when you spoke last year for President Trump. Believe it or not, it was a year ago Tuesday when I hit the stage in front of 18,000 sold-out bands and about 50,000 on the street at Madison Square Garden, and I spoke on behalf of President Trump. That was 9 days before the election, 9 days before Donald John Trump once again became the President of the United States. And as my friend Siggy Flicker, where are you, Siggy? There you are. Look at this. Is she beautiful to watch? She's great. And Stella Escobedo, both of them. As my friend Siggy talked about earlier, Trump wins, and he bestowed the honor upon me and Siggy, and John's here tonight, and Barbara. We're all going to serve now on his Holocaust Memorial Museum board. We're going to be sworn in next month, December the 8th. Look out. We're coming to Washington, D.C. But with all the great things I've done in my career, and I've done many, this is the first time I've ever spoken at the RJC. Let me give you a story. I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I had to be there. Trust me, it wasn't a vacation. It was the RNC. You remember it well. And it was Thursday afternoon. That was the night where President Trump accepted the Republican nomination to be President of the United States. And I had nothing to do. So I saw my friend Ellie Cohenim, and she said, what are you doing now? I said, I'm going to go to the gym. She said, no, come with me. We're going to Marquette University, and I'm going to go to the RJC. I go, what is that? She goes, it's the Republican Jewish Coalition. I go, no kidding. All right, why not? I walk over there, I walk in, and this is a who's who of everybody. I mean, you name it, they're there, right? Mike Johnson's there, and Kristi Noem was there, Nikki Haley, Governor Abbott. Everybody was there, everybody. And I go, how do I not know about this thing? What is this thing all about? I go, who runs this thing? So it turns out who runs this thing is a guy I know pretty well. He's my first cousin. And we're very, very close. Not like those cousins who only see each other at parties. We're very close. His late mom, Beverly, and my mom, Naomi, were sisters. We grew up together in Brooklyn, New York. Now he went to Iowa, became a great politician in Minnesota. Now he splits his time between D.C., Florida, and Minnesota. But Norm Coleman is my first cousin. He's making this long speech, and I said, how do I get up on stage? He goes, not today. Not today. Anyway, Norman, thank you so much for inviting me here today, and Matt Brooks and all of you folks. So many friends in the audience today. The greatest radio host and TV host in the history of our business, Mark Levin, is here. Also, the smartest man that God ever created. He's got to be the smartest guy ever. I love him. I listen to him every night. I got the Fallick family sitting here, Tila Fallick, Simon Fallick. Wonderful people. I met Bibi Netanyahu because of these lovely people. Spent a lot of time at their house in Jerusalem. Just loaded with big friends in the audience tonight, and I appreciate that. So I live in this little city called New York City. And about 10 days ago, on one of my shows, I talk about this mayoral election every day. And obviously I know two of the three candidates pretty well. I don't know Mamdani, who I referred to in 5 different words: terrorist, jihadist, socialist, Marxist, communist. Those aren't great words, by the way, but that's him. He gets all 5. But I know Andrew Cuomo just a little bit. In fact, I've hated Andrew Cuomo for the better part of 10 years. And Curtis Lee, what happens to be a friend of mine. But I decided a little while back that even though Curtis is a friend of mine, that my stance on this election was going to be anyone but Mamdani. Anybody but Mamdani. So I decided to put Andrew Cuomo on my radio show. And I hate the guy, okay? I don't mince words, okay? I hate him. So I put the guy on my show, and at one point he goes to me, he goes, Sid, could you imagine if, God forbid, there was another 9/11 and Mamdani was sitting in that big chair? And I said, yeah, I can imagine it. He'd be cheering. Oh. I just set the Muslim world on fire. The Muslim world, the Islam world, the Democrats. You know, they've led the nightly news with this like 6 straight nights. Even this morning, MSNBC, this is 10 days ago, they're still talking about it. They're waiting for me to apologize. You know, in one day I got called out on Twitter by Ilhan Omar, by Mamdani, by some guy named Sean King, by Kathy Hochul, by Bill de Blasio. This is in one day. I said, wow, I'm really doing something right? I'm a hero at this point. I'm a hero. I take none of that back. I said he'd be cheering. And the press has asked me time and time again to apologize. And New York has asked me to apologize, and all the New York Democrats. And I won't apologize. Because I really believe in my heart of hearts, he wants us all dead. All of us. But could you imagine that we're at the place in our lives right now that New York City, outside of Israel, more Jews in New York City than any other place in the world, we are this close to electing a Jew hater as the mayor of our city. And I know the latest polls came back this morning and Cuomo is moving up in the polls, but gun to my head right now, Mamdani is going to be the next mayor of New York City. Here's the worst part. A lot of the folks that are supporting Mamdani, I saw the numbers the other day. Siggy, you sent me something. It's down to 14%. No, it's not. A lot of the folks that are supporting Mamdani are Jewish. When somebody explained to me what has happened to our people, I can talk about Tucker Carlson all day. He's a douchebag. I can talk about Candace Owens all day. I got a word for her, too. It rhymes with punt. I got a word for all of them. These are Republicans, mind you. These are our people, right? But Jewish people voting for a man that wants us dead. I just saw a commercial a couple of days ago with Reform rabbis who happen to be some of the worst people God ever created, just so you know. It's about as bad as it gets. 3 ladies, Reform rabbis, dancing in the streets in the joy that Mamdani will be the next mayor of New York. But here's where we are. So when this group gets together and talks about Israel, talks about Hamas, as important as it is, now it's home. Now it's home. I mean, you got to understand, I was the type of Jewish kid growing up with Norman Coleman. I've always been proud of my religion. I say this every time I speak. I'm not exactly the most religious guy, you know. I was the type of kid who would celebrate the first 2 Seders and eat veal parmesan on the 3rd Seder. I don't observe Shabbos. I only have 1 set of dishes in my house. But I've always been a very proud Jew. October 7th, I became an animal. I'd never gone to Israel in 56 years. I've been back 4 times since. Again, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex Trayman and Sippy Trayman and the One Israel Fund. Thank you, people. I've never been more proud to be a Jew. Never. And that day destroyed me. But now it's here. I believe there's, over 200 now elected officials that are Muslims. Maybe 800 by the end of the year. Sid, don't say that. Muslims are good people. Well, if you listen to me, which a lot of you do, I don't beat around the bush, and I don't care what you think about me. I don't want Muslims running this country, and that's the bottom line. When somebody can explain to me how their ideology, their religion, their philosophy is in line with the Constitution of the United States, then I'll apologize. You raise your hand right now if you can do that. Somebody? Somebody? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm pretty familiar with the Bible and the Torah. There's no murder in there, right? If you don't believe what we believe in, we don't want to kill you. They do. Now, I'm not saying every Muslim's a bad person. But when you preface something with something like that, the odds are, a lot of them are, right? I don't want to preface it by saying this, but the truth is, it's a problem. And when they took over New York City, which they're about to do in 4 or 5 days, the rest of the country gets a heck of a lot easier. We all can't move to Florida. I'm sorry, Siggy. I lived in Boca for 16 years. I was bored to death. Bored to death. And Israel is great, but they play football games at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's weird for me. So, for some of us that actually like New York City, and some of our better states in this country, it's scary. So I think we need to figure out, as a group of strong and proud Jewish people, what do we do from here? How do we make sure that this invasion doesn't continue? And how do we make sure that my 16-year-old son, Gabriel, and 21-year-old daughter, Ava, can take the 6 train in New York City and wear their Star of David and not worry about getting home safely? That's our job, okay? This is all great. It's a gorgeous hotel. The food's great. We'll have a big gala tonight. Brandon Tatum's great. Scott Jennings is great. It's all bullshit compared to the big deal, which is we need to protect each other. And we need to find a way to protect the United States, Israel, our finest cities and states, and get back to being America, because right now, this is not the country that I recognized when I was a little boy on Quentin Road in Brooklyn, New York. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Please welcome the president of Secure Community Network, Michael Masters.
Just over 2 years ago, a peaceful morning at Kibbutz Nahal Oz was interrupted as terrorists flooded into the community. By dusk on October 7th, 66 members of the kibbutz and neighboring base would be murdered, 18 hostages taken. But this was not the first time that violence had visited the kibbutz. 67 years prior, in 1956, the kibbutz was to host 4 weddings on one weekend in April. Those weddings would be canceled. The morning before, one of the residents was ambushed, killed, and his mutilated body dragged back to Gaza. In 1956, Moshe Dayan, who had traveled to Nahal Oz to celebrate a wedding would instead deliver a eulogy, one of Israel's most well-known speeches. He said, "Hundreds of thousands of eyes and arms huddle together and pray for our coming weakness so that they may tear us to pieces. Have we forgotten this? Don't we know that in order for the hope of our destruction to perish, we must be armed and ready morning and night? We must not avert our gaze lest our hands be weakened." The words Diane spoke 70 years ago ring true today, and the threat he mentioned persists. But it's not just on Israel's border. It's not just on some other continent. It is here, in this country, in Pittsburgh, in Washington, D.C., in Boulder, Colorado. Will we avert our eyes? Will our hands be weakened? Or will we, as Diane implored, work to be ready? My name is Michael Masters. I am the National Director and CEO of the Secure Community Network, or SCN, a nonprofit organization created after 9/11 to serve as our community's safety and security organization here in North America. I've had the honor of serving in 4 uniformed services in my life, from the Marine Corps and law enforcement to Homeland Security. Thank you. The first one was a bit of a shock to my mother's Jewish sensibility, but she's getting over it. I now have the honor of leading SCN's team of intelligence, security, and law enforcement professionals who are working every single day to serve and protect our community, and it has never been more necessary. As we've heard, screams to globalize the Intifada on our campuses, officials who support the slogans of terrorist organizations in our city councils. In this environment, we must steady our hands and strengthen our gaze, each and every one of us. It's an honor to join you here today. I'm humbled to stand in this room as an American, as a Jew. I want to thank you all for your incredible patriotism. My special thanks to Matt Brooks, my good friend Ari Fleischer, and Abby Friedman for their friendship and leadership in our community. When Jews are in danger, whether around the world or in Israel, we come together. We must do so now because Jews are in danger here at home, and we must make a choice to allow fear to win and hatred to prevail, or to stand strong. The choices we make in rooms like this and as individuals are going to determine what our Jewish community, and indeed this country, looks like for generations to come. On Passover, our youngest read out 4 questions. 4 questions to explain the story of our Exodus. I'm going to give you 4 other questions. 4 questions to ask yourself every time you enter in a room. 4 questions whose answers may keep you alive. 1, if I asked all of you to close your eyes right now, how many of you could tell me how many exits are in this room? And where are they? Do you know how to get out if there was a fire or if it was dark? 2, what are the potential threats, either from people or objects? 3, what would you do if you were taken hostage, like our community members in Colleyville, Texas, several years ago? And 4th, what would you use to defend yourself against a terrorist? Silverware? A fire extinguisher? Starbucks? If any of you had been trained by our team at SCN, you would know the answers to those questions. We have to live like we will not know the time and place of the next incident. But the one thing that all of us can control, the one thing in our control, is our preparation. And if we have learned anything from over 3,500 years as Jews, it's that we need to be prepared. At SCN, we are working so you can be prepared. Just like Israel has an Iron Dome, we are working to build a security shield over the Jewish community in North America. We are literally an FBI specifically for the Jewish community. And for much of SCN's history, we did our work very quietly behind the scenes with law enforcement. But we can no longer be silent about our security, not when our adversaries are screaming down our halls and on our campuses. 2 weeks ago, law enforcement arrested Mahmoud al-Muhtadi for participating in the October 7th massacre in Lafayette, Louisiana. How many more Muhtadis are there out there in this country? We cannot hope our enemies don't find us. We need to find them first, and we need to be prepared. And that's what SCN is doing, and we need all of you to help. 7 years ago, we had 4 employees and $1 million budget to protect Jewish North America. Today, we have 130 employees, security and intelligence experts, and a budget of close to $30 million. We are working in over 550 communities, from large to small, urban to rural, across all 50 states, and with over 13,000 Jewish institutions, from synagogues and day schools to community centers and overnight camps. Chances are most of you in this room are protected by us when you go to synagogue, whether you're aware of us or not. At our 24/7 command center in Chicago, our intelligence analysts are using AI-enabled technology to monitor the surface, deep, and dark web, identifying individuals every day who pose a threat to our community. We then work with law enforcement to stop them. Cases just like this one. It'll come. Oop, there we go. I did too fast. August, July 31st in Atlanta, Georgia. An individual showed up at the campus of the Jewish Federation. He was encountered by security. His comment, "I'm the official representative of the white race and I'm here to negotiate with you." In law enforcement, we call that a clue that something is off. The security personnel at that federation took down this individual's license plate. They took pictures of him. They sent it to our command center in Chicago, where our team of analysts identified the individual, de-anonymized his social media accounts, and identified any number of threats that he was making towards the Jewish community. Not just these, but pictures of himself with firearms and making other threats as well. We worked to put an alert out to all 34 Jewish institutions in the greater Atlanta metro area, thanks to our partnership with the Atlanta Police Department, brave men and women who serve in law enforcement. They increased their patrols to over 80 Jewish facilities within under 90 minutes. But that wasn't all. We worked with law enforcement, and less than 56 hours later, this individual, this offender, was in custody, arrested. Federally charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office. In August alone, we worked on cases that led to arrests from Atlanta, Georgia, like this one, to Glendale, Arizona, and from San Antonio to Virginia Beach. Just this week, we helped identify this individual. He was arrested within hours in Alabama. That gun and that ammunition's not for duck hunting. But we don't stop there. We develop physical security recommendations for our facilities. We provide training to empower our community. In the last year, assessments of over 700 Jewish institutions, training for over 40,000 members of our community. And if you're not one of them, please get in touch. But our task is getting harder every single day, which is why we need your help and support. I'd be honored to meet with you. While I'm here, please find me after my remarks. We want to work with you and in your communities. Since well before October 7th, the Jewish community has been in a war. And in this war, our adversaries don't want to understand us. They're not interested in changing our minds. They're interested in ending us. But our enemies will only be successful if we let them. The matriarch of my family, my grandmother, passed away in April at 97 years old. She was an amazing woman, driving our family's Jewish involvement and philanthropy for over 7 decades. She was a true Lion of Judah, and boy, could she roar. And while she received many accolades for her efforts to support our community over the years, it was not through awards that she wished to be remembered. It was in life lessons. 15 years ago, when I got married, she gave us a letter written by her father, dated June 24th, 1939. It was to the heads of the American Joint Distribution Committee. Dear sirs, of all the great humanitarian services that our organization has rendered to the Jewish people, its accomplishments in connection with the St. Louis episode is one of the most outstanding. Not only did you save the 937 unfortunate homeless wandering souls from despair and probable death, but you brought great mental health to millions upon millions of other people who were filled with anguish and hopelessness concerning this cargo of human beings. Your accomplishments should remain in the history of human activities for centuries to come. Let us hope that we will not have to read any more of such horrors perpetrated against our community or any others in the world. Sadly, our great-grandfathers' hope would not be the reality, either in the years after 1939, when much greater horrors came to light, or today. My grandmother's lesson, Nani to me, Mrs. Horwich to everybody else, in sharing this letter was simple. When Jews are in danger, we're obligated to help, wherever they may be, whatever the cost. 86 years ago, we found safe harbor for those wandering souls of the St. Louis. Today, we must invest in security to ensure that we can remain strong here in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. We must invest to show our adversaries and enemies that we will be wandering souls no more. We must keep our mezuzot up. We must wear our Magin Davids. We must ensure our kids can march in defense of freedom. 56 years ago, Golda Meir stood in the Knesset and noted that we refuse absolutely to be the only people in the world which consents to have its fate decided by others. Let's be sure our enemies hear us and know they will not decide our fate. We are not going anywhere. We are here to stay with strength and courage. Hazak ve'emetz. Thank you very much.
Please welcome political strategist and CNN commentator Scott Jennings.
Well, thank you all very much for having me here today. I am beyond humbled to be among all of you. Some of you know me from my work at CNN. Most nights I'm the lone voice in the wilderness. The resident contrarian, or as Bill Maher calls me, Lonely Scott. Now, I'm not used to speaking uninterrupted for more than 7 seconds at a time, so I'm going to do my best to make it through this uncharted territory. Today, I want to talk to you all about what I believe our calling to be. It is my sincerest belief that everyone in this room is doing nothing less than fighting for the future of Western civilization. I've been involved in politics now for a long time, 25 years. Over half my life, I have spent in service to the conservative cause. Candidates have come and gone. The issues of the day have evolved over time. And goodness knows, our opponents have changed. We now face the most radical, anti-American political opposition that any of us could imagine. It's scary, really, just how much the liberal movement has been hijacked by the enemies of the West, by those who believe the American founding to be rotten at its core and that it should be ripped out, root and branch. But our politics now, more than ever, is a fight for the future of Western civilization. And every time I step into the arena over at CNN, I feel like a gladiator fighting for the West, sometimes against people who very much would like to tear it down. And here's what I know. We cannot quit. We cannot stop. We cannot tire. We cannot fail. And in this fight, we cannot concede any ground. Not in politics, not in education, not in business, not in culture, and especially not in the media. We are on the front lines of a fight that will determine whether our children and grandchildren will grow up in a world where the values of Western civilization persevere, or whether they will grow up in a world shrouded in darkness under ideologies and belief systems that are the very enemies of human liberty. To say that we are defending Western civilization is to say that we are standing up for the values that built the free world: faith, reason, liberty, the inherent worth of every human being. The West is not just a place on a map. It is a set of ideas born in Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome, and carried forward by generations who believed in truth, individual responsibility, and the rule of law. It is the civilization that produced the Bible, the university, and the Constitution. that taught us that freedom is sacred because it flows from God and not government. To defend the West is to defend the right to speak freely, to worship freely, to raise our families in peace, and to live by moral conviction rather than mob coercion. This past June, I traveled to Israel, the birthplace of so much of what we call Western civilization. As a Christian, walking in the footsteps of Jesus was both a physical and a spiritual journey. To step foot in the city of David, to walk on the pilgrimage road, to stand in the very place where Christ stood and taught among the Jewish people of his day. There is an inextricable link between Christianity and Judaism. We all trace our origins to the covenant that God made with Abraham. Jesus was a Jew, and we all share the same core values: justice, compassion, charity, and the pursuit of peace. The very fundamentals of Western civilization are traced to our Judeo-Christian heritage. Now, my trip to Israel refreshed my faith and strengthened my resolve to defend the West against its sworn enemies like never before. And while I was there, as I stood on the banks of the Sea of Galilee, in fact, the war with Iran started. I witnessed firsthand the Iron Dome in action, missiles being intercepted directly over my head. The country I was standing in was literally under attack. And yet, life continued. The resolve of the Israeli people to defeat once and for all the head of the terror octopus Iran is something I will never, ever forget. Their resilience, their courage, ladies and gentlemen, that was civilization refusing to bow to barbarism. I visited Kibbutz Nir Oz near the Gaza border, one of the communities ravaged on October the 7th. I walked through what remained of homes where families were murdered, blood still on the walls, the echoes of shattered lives still hanging in the air. I stood at the site of the Nova Music Festival where young people at the doorstep of their adulthood were hunted down and slaughtered. Unspeakable atrocities were visited upon defenseless people, the full truth of which is still hidden from most in the West. There is no rationalizing this barbarism. There is no justifying it. What they did to those people, to the girls, it is hard to fathom the pain and the suffering and the glee of those who inflicted it. I spoke to the survivors, people who lost everything, friends, family, their very sense of security, people who hid for hours as the terrorists went door to door. And you know what struck me is the disconnect between what I was seeing with my own eyes and what I'd seen in the Western media. The victims told us the truth. The evidence is undeniable. The barbarism was absolute. The people of Israel, the Jewish people, were treated in ways that would or should offend anyone with a single shred of human decency. Yet, when I returned home, I watched as that truth was twisted, minimized, or simply ignored. I watched as the victims became the villains in a grotesque inversion of reality. I watched a full-blown propaganda campaign unfold with the full weight of one political party and nearly the entire corporate media establishment behind it. Now, some of you know I wore this yellow ribbon on TV every night for 2 years. I still carry it with me every day, even though I took it off the night that the hostages came home. Why did I do it? Because I had a simple message to send, that at least one person on your television is capable of telling the difference between right and wrong. And that's why I need to speak out today, plainly and with no reservation, to condemn in no uncertain terms the attempts by some to hijack the conservative cause and even storied conservative organizations for their vile purposes. I am baffled and frankly shocked at the attempts by some on the right to side against the Jewish people after October the 7th and to blame the Jews for every bad thing that has happened in our country ever since, when tragic acts of terrorism and murder have occurred on our own soil. Even the murder of Charlie Kirk. We have heard some voices on the right rush to insert the latest Jewish conspiracy theory to explain it. For our Republican leaders, let me make a suggestion. Do not pussyfoot around this. Do not play footsie with it. Do not look the other way. Do not fear losing the support of a hateful band of brain-addled anti-Semites. Fear not. You don't want them anyway. What good is our movement if we cannot act any better than the left, which refuses to purge itself of the same kind of hate? Now, this nation led the free world against the forces of darkness not that long ago, relegating the ideology of anti-Semitism to the dustbin of history. I humbly submit to all conservatives today, perhaps it's time that, once again, we took out the trash. Now, this has nothing to do with free speech, but everything to do with deciding what sort of speech we want to be associated with. Oh, you'll hear them say, oh, well, we're just criticizing Israel, the government. But any honest person will acknowledge the difference between a healthy political debate and a sick attack, between legitimate scrutiny and lies, blood libels, and propaganda. Don't let the "we're just criticizing Israel" crowd get away with it. You can criticize from a place of love and shared values, but this isn't that. You know, none of that crowd ever manages to achieve anything other than galaxy-brained conspiracy theories and very barely thinly veiled anti-Semitism. I would hope that our movement can tell the difference between right and wrong when our political opposition has obviously failed to do so, and at a time when the stakes could not be higher. October the 7th was not just an attack on Israel. It was an attack on Western civilization itself, on those very values born in Jerusalem that we hold dear. When Hamas terrorists crossed the border, they didn't just bring weapons. They brought with them a worldview that rejects everything the West stands for: freedom, pluralism, and the basic right of Jews to exist in their ancestral homeland. They filmed their atrocities. They called their mothers to brag. They took hostages, including Americans, and paraded them through the streets as crowds, supposed civilians, cheered. This wasn't warfare. This was savagery. This was barbarism at war with civilization itself. And the world's response, within weeks, we saw protests, not against Hamas, but against Israel's right to defend itself. We saw deranged anti-Semites tearing down posters of the hostages in city after city. We saw university campuses, supposedly bastions of enlightenment and reason, become hotbeds of anti-Semitic hatred. We saw Jewish students barricaded in libraries while mobs pounded on the doors. We saw entire portions of campuses occupied and marked off limits to Jewish students. We heard professors teaching their students to hate the Jews and to throw off the yoke of the true oppressors, Israel, the United States, the West. Education without virtue leads to chaos, and truth without courage dies in silence, and that is exactly what we have seen on too many college campuses. Now, this past May, 2 Israeli embassy employees were murdered on the streets of Washington, D.C. On Passover, a Free Palestine radical burned the Pennsylvania governor's mansion while the Jewish governor and his family slept inside. And in Colorado, as my friend Guy Benson has put it, the Free Palestine movement transitioned from burning American flags to simply burning Americans. The message from these enemies of the West is clear. Silence yourselves, or we will do it for you. And in New York City, home to more Jews than any city outside of Tel Aviv, we have Zoran Mamdani running for mayor. He won't condemn Hamas. He won't say they should disarm. He calls Israel's self-defense genocide. He says the trouble with 9/11 is Islamophobia and some subway inconveniences for an aunt who isn't really his aunt. This man wants to run a city where over 1 million Jews live, and he cannot bring himself to condemn the terrorists who filmed themselves butchering Jewish families. Think about it. The would-be mayor of New York City refuses to condemn baby killers because it might upset his base. He says he opposes any state with religious hierarchy. Really? Name one Islamic nation that he has questioned. We'll wait. It's only the Jewish state that he has a problem with. Only Israel that shouldn't exist. Only Jewish self-determination that is illegitimate. He learned it from his father, Mahmoud Mamdani, the Columbia University professor who says, we're thinking about this all wrong, that it's the Israeli people who are the oppressors and that we need to think differently about, get this, suicide bombers. Rather than stigmatize suicide bombing as a mark of barbarism, he says we need to think of the bombers as soldiers. In short, the Mamdani family legitimizes terrorists while seeking to delegitimize the state of Israel. And they do not stop there. They believe America is rotten. Mahmoud Mamdani wrote, and I quote, the United States is the outcome of a history of genocide, ethnic cleansing, official racism, and concentration camps. Mahmoud Mamdani argues that for the Nazis, America and President Lincoln were the inspiration for their genocide. You can boo. You should boo. And you should fear what comes next. Zoran Mamdani says his father played a, quote, massive role in the way that he sees the world. Lord, help us and pray for the people of New York City. This is not simply progressive politics. It is the world's oldest hatred dressed up in a new suit. When terrorists murder Jews, Mamdani hems and haws. When Israel defends itself, he finds his voice. That's not leadership, that's cowardice. When given a choice between civilization and barbarism, he has chosen barbarism. When given a choice between New York's Jewish constituents and the hateful mob, he has chosen the mob. These are the people who want to tear down the moral and spiritual inheritance of the West, who see Jerusalem not as the wellspring of our values, but as the source of all oppression. During my trip to Israel, I visited the Western Wall. I stood where millions have stood before me, Jews and Christians alike, at this sacred site that represents thousands of years of faith, persecution, survival, and triumph. Jerusalem, Athens, Rome, the three pillars of Western civilization. And there I was, a kid from Dawson Springs, Kentucky, standing at the heart of it all. I thought about the miracle of Israel itself, a nation reborn after 2,000 years, a democracy surrounded by autocracies, a country that turns deserts into gardens while its neighbors turn gardens into deserts, or worse. And I thought about America's role as Israel's indispensable ally, not just because of shared interests, but because of shared values. And those values that teach us freedom is sacred, not because it comes from government, but because it comes from God. Israel is the tip of the spear defending Western civilization in the Middle East. It is the willing and necessary fighter against radical Islamic terrorism. Protesting Israel? Give me a break. We should be thanking Israel with all our heart every single day. The same people trying to destroy Israel would gladly and willingly destroy the United States of America in a heartbeat. When we abandon Israel, we abandon our own principles. The West now faces a choice. We can stand with those who build or with those who destroy. We can stand with those who protect life or those who celebrate death. We can stand with those who protect and celebrate human freedom or allow the continued march of those who enslave, rape, and murder. We can stand up for Western civilization, or we can watch it crumble. Much of Europe, sadly, has made its choice. England, France, Germany, overrun, their feckless leaders cowering in the face of a mass migration crisis of their own making, have brought radical Islam to their very doorsteps. It is truly pathetic, and more than that, it is dangerous. Despite Europe's best efforts to the contrary, President Trump did prevail in bringing the hostages home and helping Israel restore peace and security. My message to Europe is, remember your Churchill. Eat me last will never work, whether in staving off war or the loss of your culture. America is the last best hope for the West. And the Republican Party has always understood this fundamental truth. America and Israel stand together because we are both inheritors and defenders of the Western tradition. Those who hate Israel hate America. Those who want to destroy the Jewish state want to destroy the West itself. That's why President Trump moved our embassy to Jerusalem. That's why he recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. That's why he stood up to Iran instead of appeasing it. The decision to strike Iran's nuclear facilities was a righteous decision, and you can draw a direct line to the hostages being released and the possibility of peace in the Middle East because of it. Our president understood that in this fight for the West, we cannot cede any ground or allow the forces of darkness to possess any weapon that could lead to our demise. Give this man the Nobel Peace Prize already, for goodness sakes. I have 4 boys, 16, 12, 10, and 8, and when I think about their future, I don't just want them to grow up in a prosperous nation. I want them to grow up in a good country that believes in truth, individual responsibility, and the rule of law. A country that knows the difference between good and evil, that stands with its friends, especially when the spirit of the age demands otherwise. And a country that inspires us to live boldly for something greater than ourselves, that says never again and means it, that knows we're just not fighting about policy anymore, that we're fighting for the soul, for the very existence of Western civilization. We're fighting for the radical proposition that free people can govern themselves, worship as they choose, and live in peace. We're fighting for the idea that a Jewish state has the right to exist and defend itself, and that Jewish children should be able to wear their yarmulkes to school without fear. We're fighting so that people know that Zionist isn't a slur, but a statement of belief in the Jewish people's right to self-determination. So, as I close, let us remember that defending Western civilization is not an act of nostalgia. It is an act of stewardship. We are heirs to a legacy purchased by the courage of those who came before us, men and women who believed that truth was worth dying for and that freedom was worth defending. The Jewish people know this better than anyone. For millennia, they have been the keepers of the flame, preserving not just their own traditions, but the moral foundation upon which rests all of Western civilization. Through exile and persecution, through pogroms and the Holocaust, the flame never went out. As Churchill said, it flickered at times, but it never died. And in 1948, it blazed forth again with the rebirth of Israel. That flame burns brightly today in the courage of Israeli soldiers defending their homeland, in the faith of those who still pray at the Western Wall and at the Shabbat table, and in the determination of every person in this room who refuses to be silent in the face of old hatred that has once again reared its disgusting head. Our charge is to keep the flame alive, to carry it into a confused world that desperately needs clarity, into a divided culture that needs courage, and into a dark age that still longs for the light. Because if we remain faithful to God and to the truths that built this great civilization, then our best days and the world's best days are still ahead. And you have my word. I will never stop fighting for you. I will never stop fighting for America. I will never stop fighting for Israel's right to exist and for the West in every debate that I ever have. God bless the Republican-Jewish coalition. God bless the nation of Israel. And God bless the United States of America.
Please welcome the great one, Mark Levin.
They tell me we're way behind, so I have 5 minutes. Just kidding. 15 minutes. So I never like to go last behind radio and TV guys. I'm not going to go through the history of Western civilization. I'm not going to go through the history of the United States. I'm not going to go through the history of Israel. That doesn't get us very far right now. I'm not going to do an after-action report either. It is my greatest hope that the people who are appearing at this wonderful organization, RJC, who've come up here and spoken to you, will do what they say they're going to do. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. For 6 months, I've been fighting these bastards, whether it's Tucker Carlson or whether it's Nick Fuentes, and I've been looking over my shoulder looking for help. And you know what I found? Nothing. Nothing. We're here today to do something about this. Now, first of all, my wife, my mother-in-law, my dear friend, Ron, Rhoda, all of you, Norm. I can't see, the lights are in my eyes. Anyway, what do you mean we don't cancel people? We canceled David Duke. Donald Trump canceled David Duke. We canceled Pat Buchanan. We canceled the John Birch Society. We canceled Joseph Sobran. We canceled pornography on TV. We cancel stuff all the damn time. Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system. They don't have a lifetime job like a bureaucrat who we're going to protect. And if they're your friend, there's something wrong with you. No Hitler admirer, Holocaust denier, platformer should be anybody's friend, as a matter of fact. You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged, Nazi, Klan, jihadist bullshit around American patriotism. You don't get to claim you're MAGA and America first when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick. Now, I don't need more than 15 minutes. The cowards. We're surrounded by cowards who have microphones, who have TV cameras, who have websites, who have columns. Cowards. It's spelled C-A-R-L-S-O-N. It's spelled F-U-E-N-T-E-S. It's spelled O-W-E-N-S. It's spelled B-A-N-N-O-N. It's spelled Marjorie Trader Green. You can figure that out yourself. And they're not alone. How are we going to attack the Mandamis and the Talibs and the Omars and the Sanders and the rest of them when in our own house this poison is spreading? We've got to take care of business. We can fight the enemy on the other side. But the problem is, the more daunting problem, the more complicated problem is when they're in our house and they're trying to take over our house and they're burning down our house. And they're destroying America First, and they're destroying MAGA, and they're destroying the Republican Party, which means they're destroying the country. Either speak up and stand out, but don't be a pretender. Don't be a pretender. We need help to deal with these people. These aren't policy disputes. These aren't personality issues. We're talking about liberty versus tyranny, good versus evil, right versus wrong, democracy versus terrorism, Western Enlightenment versus 7th century barbarians, the greatest generation versus the Third Reich, Chamberlain versus Hitler, Reagan versus Stalin. Is it really that tough to call these buffoons out and to set the record straight? No, it's not. So I'm glad to see the courage that's pouring off this stage. I really am, and some of them deserve a pat on the back. But we need more. We need more. We need more. You don't come here, say things, and go home and forget about it. I stay up at nights thinking about this stuff, weekends thinking about this stuff, how we're going to fight it, how we're going to confront it, how we're going to defeat it. And you do it first and foremost by calling it out. That's what you do. This is America first, not the sick rantings of unaccomplished Neanderthals who have social media sites who've contributed absolutely nothing to this country. Zero. What have they contributed? What have they done? Nothing. To ignore this, or to be timid, impotent, tolerant, to acquiesce to it, to waste time debating these people rather than exposing them, to intellectualize it, to respond with anything but moral certainty and clarity, to fail, to call it out everywhere and anywhere, is to be devoured by it. You want to know what the 1930s was like? You're looking it in the eye. That's what it's like. And if the Republicans think, and they don't, this is a cabal, but the poison spreads like it did in the Democrat Party. You either put it out or it devours you. It's that simple. It's devoured them. If the Republican Party goes, we lose our country. If the Republican Party goes, we lose our liberty, our private property rights, our Declaration, our Constitution, We lose our Israel. We lose our other allies. That's how serious this is. Now's not the time for political word salads. Not now. Now's the time for precise, crystal clear, unequivocal, unadulterated language. The Democrat Party is gone. It's not their base. It's not a left-wing part of the party. It's the party. The party is gone. It's anti-American. It's anti-Constitution. It's anti-private property rights and capitalism. That's what it is. Isn't it weird that the voices of the woke alt-right isolationists sound more like the Marxists and the Islamists? Isn't it interesting? Little Adolf Fuentes, little Adolf. He gets here, he's got a little suit on like he's attending a funeral. My advice to little Adolf is just go full, put the brown shirt on. What are you, a coward? Put the brown shirt on. I know you can't grow the Hitler mustache. You're still stuck in your prepubescent stage, but give it a shot. Give it a shot. To Tucker Carlson, I say, did you have a head injury? What happened to you? But you know what? Unlike other people, truly, I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't care why. I just know what you are. You platform these people. You deceive your audience. You lie to your audience. You become a full-blown, out-of-the-closet Jew hater. And if you're a Jew hater, you're a Christian hater. And they demonstrated that. Christian Zionism. Wow. You know what he said? He said that he despises Christian Zionists more than anybody. More than anybody. If you play footsie with Hitler, if you think Hitler's misunderstood, if you think Churchill's the reason we had World War II, if you think Churchill was the provocateur, if you think those things, I don't want to debate you. I don't even care about you. That's not a legitimate position. Supporting the Klan's not a legitimate position. Neo-Nazis, that's not a legitimate position. Jihadis, that's not a legitimate position. These are people who want to kill us. These are ideologies that want to kill us. Oh, no, I'm just asking questions. Okay, I'm answering it. I'm answering your damn questions. This is going to separate, and you're going to see, whether they're in radio or TV or podcasting or politicians, this is going to separate statesmen and leaders from the rest. From the rest. And you can observe this yourselves. These aren't powerful people. Seriously? These aren't intelligent people. These are lowlives that have platforms. If we can't speak out against them and fight them, what good are we? Conservative institutions. We've been putting billions of dollars into conservative institutions for half a century. Now's the time. We're not interested in your white papers. We're not interested in your booklets. We're not interested in your donation requests. Unless now, when you're needed, you speak out and you do something to help save this republic, to help save freedom in this country, to help save the West. Now's the time for conservative institutions to produce. See, how can I put this? How many of you have been to Israel? So who protects the holy sites in Israel? The Palestinians? Any Arabs? The Muslims? Who protects the holy sites in Israel? The Israeli police and military. Who protects the Christian sites in Israel? Really? Who protects the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Israel? Who protects the Jewish sites, the Christian sites, the Muslim sites, any holy site in the state of Israel? It's the Israelis. We don't need to pressure the Israelis to defend holy sites, including the Church of the Holy Sepulchre that has been protected since the state of Israel was founded from first the Jordanians, now the Palestinians. The Israelis protect the Christian sites. What's happened to Bethlehem? Who's in charge of Bethlehem? The Palestinians. It was 85% Christian. I blinked, and now it's 85% Palestinian, with the Christians being abused and forced out. How come I don't hear about pressuring them? Nothing. Tell me, who tries to protect the Christians in Syria? Who sends their armed forces into Syria to protect the Christians? We don't send the Marines in. We don't send NATO in. I don't see any international Arab community doing it. Do you? It's the Israelis who are protecting as many of the minorities in these countries as they can. Tell me, how many Jews are left in the Arab countries? How many Christians are left in the Arab countries? Who's committing genocide? Genocide. You want to talk about genocide? Ask the black Christians in Nigeria and the Congo and the Sudan about genocide. Hundreds of thousands of them slaughtered by the jihadi Islamists. Hundreds of thousands of them. Go on the internet. It's unimaginable how they're hanging these people, grabbing the little girls. It is horrendous. Tell me, who killed 600,000 Muslims in Syria? The jihadi Muslims killed 600,000 Muslims in Syria. Assad killed 600,000 Muslims in Syria. Who got rid of Assad? Netanyahu got rid of Assad. Lebanon just elected a Christian president. How the hell did that happen? Who defeated Hezbollah? Netanyahu and the Israelis defeated Hezbollah. There was no other military in there. No other military in Syria. No other military in Lebanon. No other military, none other, no other, protecting Christians, Jews, and yes, even Muslims in the Middle East, committing genocide. We have to pressure the Israelis to protect holy sites? Are you kidding me? Apartheid, that's a funny one. We just went over how many Jews and Christians are left in the Arab world. How come they never talk about, like this Mandami? Israel's okay. I'm just opposed to a Jewish state. Are you opposed to a Muslim state? How many are them? I can't even count how many Muslim states there are. How many? 54, he says, and I don't know that man, but he sounds very authentic. Sounds right. 57, that's Heinz Ketchup. Oh, what about apartheid in Israel? Where Muslims are in the IDF, Christians are in the IDF, Jews are in the IDF, Arabs are, Druze are, and so forth and so on. Let me ask you a question. I think we had all the Jews in the House of Representatives here this morning, 4 of them. 4 Jews in the House of Representatives. There are more Arabs in the Knesset in Israel than there are Jews in the U.S. House of Representatives. Don't tell me that Israel is apartheid. I'm sitting here having to unravel all the lies, the current propaganda used by the Democrat Party, the media, and the isolationist, I don't know what the hell to call these people, the pro-Hitler wing of the Republican Party and the pro-Hitler wing of the Democrat Party. Let me tell you something. I'm an American. My grandfather fought in Iwo Jima in Guam. My great-uncle fought in Guadalcanal. My family's American, and we're Jewish, and we're proud of both. And I shouldn't have to stand up here and demonstrate that my family and I are patriotic Americans. And I'm not doing it for that purpose. I'm doing it to explain that when the Third Reich took over, Jews who fought for Germany in World War I, they would bring out their medals, they'd bring out their uniform, they would say, I fought for Germany. It didn't matter. To the gas chambers you go. To the gas chambers you go. I want to say this to the people who are attacking America by attacking Jews and Christians, by attacking our history. I want to say something to you. You're not going to get what you want. You know why? Because we're not going anywhere. Not now, not ever. Ironically, you little bastards have done more to unite us with our Christian brothers and sisters and Jews. I don't care, atheists, agnostics, straight, gay, men, women, whatever it is. You have done more to unite America than anything else in this country. Because Americans love America. Americans love freedom, liberty. Americans love the Golden Rule, the 10 Commandments. We Americans love our Bible. Americans, some the Old Testament, some the Old and the New Testament. They're in the same Bible for many people. We are hooked at the hip, Jew and Christian, and nothing will or can come between us as we face the Islamists, the Marxists, and the pro-Hitler crowd. We are very fortunate, and then I'll finish up. We are very fortunate to have truly 2 great men in the world at the same time. It doesn't happen often. You had Franklin Roosevelt, whose domestic policies I completely reject. But in his alliance against Hitler with Churchill, it was a great marriage. Reagan and Thatcher. Trump and Netanyahu. Stand up, Trump and Netanyahu. Can't see. I know both of these men. You know, people try to come between them and the United States and Israel. It won't work. Allies don't always agree. FDR and Churchill didn't always agree. Reagan and Thatcher didn't always agree. Hell, husband and wife don't always agree. Except my wife, I always agree with her. What's that sign say, honey? I can't. Okay. And Trump and Netanyahu. But look what these two men have accomplished. It's extraordinary, extraordinary. The United States has a more powerful presence in the Middle East than ever in its history. China and Russia are out. Out. Israel is now more secure than it ever has been in its history, having defeated Hamas effectively, Hezbollah, Iran in 12 days, and they're going to kick the ass out of the Houthis if they don't stop firing those missiles too. And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is. Not if I and everybody else have something to say about it. Now, I want to thank the RJC. I want to thank all of you. I'm sorry if I offended you. Not really, but you know I have to say that. I had to get to the point, so I couldn't be as intellectual as I like to be. I think somebody called me a passionate intellectual. Something's not right there, but I don't know what it is. But I just want to make something clear to you. Americans are good people. Americans love good people. We want to be with good people. So good people need to stand up and speak out. I don't care if it's in your church or synagogue, little community. I don't care where it is. Don't be a wallflower. It's now or never. And I want to thank my dear friends, Ron and Rhoda Dermott, who are sitting right there. Our dear friends. Ron, you're like a brother. You really are. And Rhoda, you're fantastic. They have sacrificed years and years and years serving the Israeli government and really the American government too. Be careful, Ron. You'll go back to Israel and they'll say, what do you have, dual citizenship with Israel and the United States? No, I think you've proven yourself. Here's the thing. If you're an American patriot, you're an Israeli patriot. If you're an Israeli patriot, you're an American patriot. It's that simple. And one last thing for my third last thing. Let me say this. We have this all wrong. Oh, we give Israel $3 billion a year. Oh, they're a protectorate. We, Europe, people of freedom, Jews, Christians, people who believe in liberty around the world, we need to thank the Israelis for what they've been doing. We need to thank them for using their soldiers to fight an enemy that the rest of the world refused to fight. And if you think I'm wrong, that this is our enemy too, and you know I'm right, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year on counterterrorism measures? To protect us from the Europeans, from the Israelis, the Brazilians, the Norwegians? No, the Islamist terrorists, most of which are headquartered in Israel's neighborhood, who they're fighting and defeating on their behalf, our behalf, and the behalf of the free world. I want to thank you. God bless you. Be well.
Please welcome the Governor of Arkansas.
You know, it's never easy to follow somebody with the nickname The Great One, so thankfully, having Mike Huckabee for a father, I'm used to following people who set the bar pretty high. Good afternoon. It is an honor to be back at RJC. And I want to thank the organizers of this event who year after year put on an amazing show of support for conservative values and our friends in the Jewish community. The last time I was here in 2023, the mood in the room was very different. It wasn't even a month after the October 7th attacks. And it seemed like in the battle of good versus evil, evil was winning. Thankfully, things have changed. With the support of groups like this one, Donald Trump as our president, his administration standing firmly behind Israel, and him building the foundation for peace in the Middle East. That couldn't have happened if it weren't for the groundswell of help from RJC and its many supporters. I've known many of you in the audience for years, but America really got to know me when I had the privilege of serving as President Trump's White House press secretary. When the president hired me, I was only the third woman and the very first mom to ever serve in that job. People would ask me all the time, Sarah, how did you prepare to be White House press secretary? I said, it's really easy. I'm a mom to preschool-aged children. When I started there, my kids were 5, 3, and 1. So I had to have a tremendous amount of patience. I had to say no a lot. And I was used to answering the same question over and over and over again. When I started working for the president, we did chaos at our house really well. In fact, I was one of the few administration officials who came to the White House to get a break because it was easier than being at home with our kids. But during my time in the Trump administration, I had a front row seat to his actions in support of Israel and Jewish people across the globe. I was there with the president when he made his first trip overseas in his administration, which included a stop in Israel. I defended the president later that year when he made the decision to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Israel's rightful capital in Jerusalem. And I was the press secretary in 2018 when he pulled our nation out of President Obama's failed deal with Iran. Every single time the president stood up for our friends in Israel, as you can imagine, the media went absolutely crazy, saying Hamas and Iran would invade and that we'd just caused World War III. And every single time, the media was wrong and President Trump was right. There's a very clear lesson when you compare President Trump's successes with President Biden's absolute failures. It proves that peace through strength works, but weakness and apologies only create more chaos. It's in large part thanks to President Trump that I'm now the youngest governor in the country. You know, I get introduced that way pretty often, and as long as I continue to be the youngest governor in the country, I'm going to let them keep saying it. However, my kids are kind of tired of hearing it. And I was at an event a few weeks ago, and my youngest son, George, was with me in the room when I got introduced as the youngest governor. And when I sat back down after my speech, George turned to me and he said, Mom, are you still really the youngest governor in the country? Feeling pretty proud of myself, I said, yes, George. As a matter of fact, I am. He didn't skip a beat, and he said, those other guys must be really, really old. Well, whether you think I'm too young or really, really old, over the first 3 years of my administration, we've had the chance to shake things up in Arkansas. One of my top priorities has been to show our public support of our friends in Israel in any way we can to show our help. Earlier this year, my state bought $50 million in Israeli bonds, not just showing our support, but making a sound investment in one of the world's strongest economies. We created the Right to Worship grant program to provide thousands of dollars for security at Jewish places of worship that were threatened by anti-Semitic attacks. And we are very proud that written in our state law, the region west of the Jordan River is referred to by its biblical and historical name, Judea and Samaria. This past summer, I had the chance to visit Israel when they were still in the thick of the fight against Hamas, and again, to show my state's support for our friends there in the Middle East. My dad likes to say that Israel is the one place in the world that you can visit for the first time, and it feels like you're coming home. And even though it was far from my first time to be there, it very much felt like coming home. From the center of Jerusalem to the olive groves in Shiloh. One thing I was especially proud to tell our Israeli friends is that Arkansas produces critical components for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system, which has saved thousands of lives in the conflict against Hamas. And I'm proud that we're expanding our production lines so that we can help even more. We will not back down. But this visit especially felt like coming home because I got to see my mom and dad. My dad, who is now serving as President Trump's ambassador to Israel, and I may be a little biased, but I don't think there's anybody that could do a better job. My dad has had a lot of important titles throughout his career. He's been a pastor, a governor, a talk show host, even a candidate for president. But I honestly believe that God put him in this role at this time for a very specific reason. From the moment I was born, my dad has been giving my brother and I advice on life and our faith in God, frankly, whether we ask for it or not. And one of his biggest lessons was on the importance of our faith, of Israel, and our support of the Jewish people. After all, Christianity literally wouldn't exist without Judaism. My dad has been a great, humble leader all of my life. And so it has been both heart-wrenching and inspiring to watch him spend the better part of the summer working from a bunker as Iranian missiles rain down overhead. My dad has not been home since March, and he has not seen his grandkids since he left, but he is more committed now than ever before. In the midst of the firestorm, my dad sent text to President Trump, and I quote, "Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania, to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anybody else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters, his voice. I am your appointed servant in this land. and I am available for you. But I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours. Not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last to leave. I will not abandon this post, and our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment, but this moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you. Signed, Mike Huckabee. Just like President Trump was called to be our president, I truly believe my dad was called by God to serve as ambassador to Israel in this critical time for both that country and our own. Even if that meant my husband and I lost our best free babysitters. He's been going to Israel for more than half a century, and I still consider the first time he took me to the Holy Land to be one of the most transformational experiences of my childhood. You may have heard this story before, but it's one I want to tell again because I really think it shows what this fight is all about. On that very first trip I ever took, I was 11 years old, and one of the last stops on our trip was to Yad Vashem, which, as you know, commemorates one of the darkest eras in all of human history, the Nazi genocide against the Jewish people. I was only 11 years old, but my parents wanted me to understand the importance of standing up against evil, so he decided to take my brothers and I to that place. Yad Vashem sits on Mount Herzl, often referred to as the Mount of Remembrance. Yad Vashem in Hebrew means a memorial and a name, and its goal is to memorialize the Holocaust, and in particular, all of the Jewish people who were killed and had no descendants left on earth to carry on their name. We walked through the museum where I looked at the photos of the bodies who had been starved to death. I listened to the voices of survivors tell of the horrific things that they had been through. And I watched the videos of the kids who had their shoes removed and stacked high before they were marched to their death. I didn't speak as we walked through Yad Vashem. At one point, I did reach up and grab a hold of my father's hand, and I gripped it tightly for the next hour and a half. But I didn't say a word, and he never once left my side. He stayed with me, watching and waiting, hoping I understood why he had brought me there in the first place. He wanted me to see it. He wanted me to understand what happens when good people sit by and let evil prevail. We got to the end, and there was a guest book for visitors to sign, placed on a podium much like the one I'm standing behind right now. I knew my dad always kept a pen in his pocket, so I reached up and I took it out. Looking over my shoulder, he watched as I inscribed my name and address in the book. And then I paused at the comments section, and he waited to see if I would write something in that place that let him know I understood why had brought me there. I still hadn't spoken, but in the book I carefully wrote words both he and I will never forget. Very simply, why didn't somebody do something? At a young age, I understood that all it takes for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. And let me be very clear, and if you hear nothing else I or anyone else say today, the rise of anti-Semitism we are seeing in both parties is vile, disgusting, and unacceptable, and we cannot sit back while it happens. We must be vocal and we must fight back. We will not allow the loud voices to overtake what is good and right in this world. And while this world we call home remains a dangerous one, America now has a president and an ambassador to Israel that are doing something about it, that are being the somebodies that are taking the fight to the forces of darkness that frankly threaten us all. My dad is a man of deep faith and conviction. He's generous, sometimes funny, and he has been my greatest mentor and inspiration. There really is no one better. So let us all commit ourselves to joining him in being the somebodies who do something. And never forget to stand with the Jewish people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the honor of allowing me to be with you. May God bless you, and may God bless the great people of this country. Thank you so much.